Welcome again. This is session 6, looking at Intentism, the new art movement, and looking at themes of intentionality around it. We've been looking the last couple of weeks at where meaning can be found, and the last few weeks we've been looking at whether meaning can be found in the work, and we concluded that not entirely. We're going to try and go through whether meaning can be found in the viewer in this session. There's a lot here, and that's one of the main areas of interest of postmodernism. So there's a lot to be said and done. We'll try and fit it all in this 10-minute or so slot. If our conclusion to the question, is meaning found in the work, is not entirely, is meaning found in the work, in the viewer rather, the answer to this, we would say, is no. Not entirely, but no. So let's have a look at the viewer. If meaning is found with the viewer, what are the consequences? Well, I would suggest there are two. First of all, an art historian and an uneducated child with opposing interpretations, contradictory interpretations, are equally true. There are two truths. One by someone who's studied art and knows about that kind of genre and style, the artist, appreciated all these sorts of things in many, many years, and maybe a child that's looking at their first ever painting. This has put into question the whole of our educational system. Why should we study? Why are you listening to me? Why are you watching this video? Why do we pay lecturers to teachers if there's no hierarchy of interpretation? Why do we buy books? Why do we buy the books of postmodernists that might say there's no hierarchy? Why do I buy books by Barth or Derrida if they can't tell me anything more than anybody else? Secondly, there can be as many meanings as viewers. Jacques Derrida, it has been said, pulled back from this position. He said that there are some things the work cannot mean. However, once you have accepted deconstruction and undecidables, and that the creator and their intention is undesirable, and you believe in the birth of the viewer, Derrida and much of postmodernism has completely failed to put anything in its place. They've failed to implement any alternative framework that can exclude any other wayward interpretations. They've opened the floodgates in and then said that some of these interpretations are not valid. But by what means? By what definition? Therefore, two conclusions from this can be asserted. First of all learning is worthless. No opinion is any better. No opinion is any better informed. Remember, if you were here at the very beginning, on our first session, I asked you to think about work that you've done, a work of art, maybe a work of literature, maybe a sculpture, maybe a painting, and I suggested that I think the work is racist. And more than that, it is racist. Well, you have no longer a trump card as the intender, as the creator, because you have no authority over me. You can't tell me that I'm wrong. That work is racist. Secondly, the second conclusion is if the work can mean anything, surely it means nothing. In fact, the viewer may say that the work means anything, and the viewer may say that the work means nothing. Both interpretations are valid and true. However, there is no doubt that viewers can interpret works differently. There is little doubt that culture, personality, and generation can all influence these interpretations. What we need to decide, though, is whether these interpretations are new meanings or not. And we're going to look at a literary critic called E.D. Hirsch here. Meanings and significance. The literary critic, Hirsch Jr., understood these things in interpretations, and he said we can divide these things between meaning and significance. Not all interpretations of work are meaning. They're possibly valid, they're probably good things to have, but he was saying we can categorize them as new significances. Earlier, Gadamer had proposed the effective history of the work. Again, if you were here for previous sessions, you'd remember that phrase, hopefully. This expression, to help you to remember, was to explain how work has a history. And at different times and in different places, the meaning of the work changes. In effect, the work can never settle to a fixed meaning, because it could always change tomorrow, this afternoon, by a new audience. Intentism, however, agrees with Hirsch that when an intender decides to intend no more. The artist, the creator, decides to intend no more. The meaning of the work is fixed. What changes is therefore not the work, but people's associations with it can change, or as Kirk named them, the significances of the work may change. It is surely part of the power and the unique influence of the arts that people can take different things from the work, which is often a wonderful thing. This is to be celebrated and is beautiful and powerful. However, these significances, however great they are, should never be confused with meanings. Perhaps this can be seen more clearly in a couple of case studies. First of all, a statue in Piccadilly Circus, London. This statue in Piccadilly Circus must be one of the most well-known landmarks in London. It was built in 1885, but here's a question for you. What does the sculpture depict? It is popularly known as Eros. Some people believe it to be the angel of Christian charity. Yet what was the original commission? Artist Alfred Gilbert intended the figure to be Anteros, the Greek god of requited love. The sculpture was intended to symbolise the selfless philanthropic love of the Earl of Shaftesbury for the poor, and this is what it still means today. This case study illustrates that even if the majority assumes a position contrary to the artist's intention, this position is still a significance or association. The meaning does not change. Second case study, music. Our song. The second case study here looks at the exceptional ownership listeners have to music. We all feel that we own a song. Our song. Our song related to my wife, my girlfriend, my husband, my boyfriend. I hear it and it's ours. It reminds me of our past, our beautiful romantic experiences that we've had, and the words of the song we take as our own. Tears in Heaven is a ballad written by Eric Clapton and Will Jennings about the pain Clapton felt following the death of his 4-year-old son Connor, who fell from a window of a 53rd floor New York apartment of his mother's friend on March 20th, 1991 rather. But it may become associated with the death of a loved one. That's perfectly valid. Music is powerful. However, this is significance, not another meaning. I would actually suggest that knowing the biographical background to a work, such as Tears in Heaven, only makes the impact of the work more powerful. On a lighter note, this ownership of our song, as we often call it, should be considered an association or a significance. If it was thought of as a meaning and as a truism, something that's true, then on a lighter note we should all be claiming royalties. If it's our song, claim the royalties. But we know obviously it's not. For there to be an influence on the meaning of the work, there needs to be a direct influence creatively. In other words, we can say this: no creative input, no meaning input. Two last examples before we close this particular session. Let me remind you of a well-known incident in the art world and suggest that its outcome contradicted Barthes' assertions of the birth of the reader. This is it here, Le Bateau by Henri Matisse. Le Bateau caused a minor stir when the Museum of Modern Art, which housed it, hung the print upside down for 46 days in 1961 until a stockbroker noticed the mistake and notified a guard. This stockbroker later informed the New York Times, who in turn notified Monroe Wheeler, who was the museum's art director. And as a result, the artwork was rehung properly. Interesting story. What's the relevance? Well, it's this. If the meaning is found with the viewer and and the majority of the viewers believe the work to be the right way up in the gallery. Moreover, if the curators, who are of course viewers as well, believed that they had the painting the right way up, then surely it should have been left that way, because that's the right way up. That's the right way up for the meaning of today. Remember Gadamer and the effective history of the work. Again, remember, there's no hierarchy of interpretation. We can't say, well, it's got to be that way around because the artist intended it to be that way around. So why did they change it? The answer must be, and don't forget this is in a modern gallery of modern art, it must be to coincide with the artist's intention and biography. Okay, let me just finish with one last example, case study. Perhaps the bateau was corrected due to the artist's sketches or notes of conversations as well. That's possibly where they found that the answer to their dilemma was that the painting was round the wrong way. They matched it to the artist's sketches or notes of conversations, possibly. Another place outside the work and outside the viewer that aids our interpretation of a work is the artist's oeuvre or body of work. This can help us to understand the meaning of the work. Two Cockles by Pablo Picasso. The first of these is a charming illustration for Buffon's natural history. The second, a rather grotesque caricature. Gombrich, the very famous writer of art history, makes the point that given the first of these pictures, no one can deny Picasso's ability to make lifelike representations. Knowing this, when we look at the second drawing and see that it looks nothing like a cockerel, we would be foolish to dismiss it and should ask instead what Picasso was trying to do here. What was he intending to do with it? In other words, being aware of Picasso's oeuvre, body of work, can help us understand the creative intentions in a work. If a viewer assumes that Picasso is an incompetent draftsman by solely looking at the image on the right, he would be wrong. Therefore, in answer to the question that we began this session with, is meaning found in the work? No. Thank you. We'll leave it there for this particular session, and next session we're going to be looking at the complexities of human mind. How can we understand someone's intention when the human mind is so complex? Thank you very much.